Thank you, Kermit.
Oh, it must be great to be a rock star.
Oh, would you like to be a rock star?
Yeah, sure. Love to be a rock star.
Well, then, just sign this contract.
Contract?
Yes, I have a friend that runs a service. He could guarantee to make you a rock star.
When I said I wanted to be a rock star, I was just sort of half kidding. I mean, I'd like to be an astronaut, too.
Well, then just cross out the word rock star and write in astronaut.
I don't think I want anything to do with it.
Well, looks like you're stuck with it, doesn't it? Just read it over anyways.
You must be kidding. Why, how can he guarantee that? And what must it cost?
Not a penny, just your soul.
$1978. Wow, I was 7 years old when I first saw Alice Cooper on TV. He was playing the devil, or a messenger of the devil. He was trying to get the Muppets, right, to sell their souls for fame and fortune. I used to love the Muppets every week. That was a great show back in the day. And I remember Gonzo that night, on that particular episode, searching for a pen so he could sign the contract on that dotted line. Because it's only your soul, right? And the Muppets weren't real, and so what's the harm? It's only a prime-time children's television program. What could go wrong, right? Programming. If you can get past the parents with puppets, right, the children are easy prey. And it worked, right? From that moment forward, because of Alice Cooper, I grew up loving all things horror, right? The electric company already programmed me with Spider-Man and comic books. Star Trek and Star Wars already programmed me with science fiction. So it was only a matter of time until the gates of hell, if you will, were opened wide with rock and roll and heavy metal. Hell, my dad already loved Elvis. He loved Frank Sinatra a lot. And my mom, she absolutely loved the Beatles and the Monkees and the Beach Boys. My mom loved the Beach Boys. Right? So Alice Cooper was just another doorway into something I already knew. Right? I grew up a metalhead, right? Having absolutely no idea what all of those hidden signs and symbols actually meant. But when I figured it out, I ignored them all, right? Because Alice Cooper was Christian, and so all of those signs and symbols were just part of the act, right? As with all of the bands that I liked. Just a show, nothing more, nothing to see here. Just listen to the music and move on, right? And so all of this stuff must be okay with Jesus, because after all, again, Alice Cooper is Christian, right? It's all just harmless, entertaining fun, right? Good times. Did I mention that I grew up with two Catholic grandmothers, right? An only child does not escape two Catholic grandmothers. I'm going to make a Catholic video soon. But, I grew up an only child. It was so easy to pass all of this stuff off as harmless entertainment, all of this horror and heavy metal, right, to my parents. Because Alice Cooper is Christian, and hey, I was good to go, right? And I saw Alice Cooper live for the first time back in 1987, ladies and gentlemen, right? I was 16 years old. I was already driving to school, right? I picked up my friends. I won't show you them. I have pictures. I won't show you Richie because of his hand gestures, right? But I'll show you Mike real quick. We were programmed, right? Fully programmed, ready for a night of loud music and bloody entertainment with Alice Cooper, right? What could be better for a 16-year-old? Now, the real reason I'm making these videos is because I feel it is very important, right, to show how all of this programming, social engineering, that's what it is, right, how all of this works on a normal, everyday, average Joe person like me, right? Like all of us, right? And I'll show you. I dug out an old box. I can't find the tour book from this night, but, no cameras allowed. 1987, Cumberland County Civic Center in Maine. Alice Cooper. See that number 1 down in the right-hand corner? I bought the first ticket, ladies and gentlemen. It was so cool back in the day, right? Ticketron, went into Bookland, so easy, right? No cameras allowed, but I took these pictures. Remember with the Kodak disc camera, I was pretty close. And this was Alice Cooper that night. The snake. The Masonic top hat. The hanging. Good entertainment. And Gail. Do you remember Gail? From the Raise Your Fist and Yell album. Yeah. Blood drops look like roses on white lace. So dead up on the bed, still searching for your head. Right, good stuff. That is great Christian entertainment, right? From a nice, wholesome Christian man, slitting Gail's throat on stage. Oh, it was glorious, right? Good times. This was a shirt from back then. I mean, this was when concert shirts were like 10, 15 bucks, right? Good old bean in the background. Raise Your Fist and Yell tour 87, 88. I had to buy a couple of them, right? I mean, when you see Alice Cooper hanging on a shirt at 16 years old, you have to buy that. And this is the programming I'm talking about. This is how they get you, right? Live in the flesh, right? Oh, I had to get the one with no sleeves, right? You had to wear that to school the next day. Now, do you remember high school back in the 80s? If you went to a concert the next day and you wore these shirts, it was like a badge of honor. That was the time, right? Now, remember back in the 80s, right? There was no internet. There was no Amazon, right? So you bring a bunch of money to the show. If you don't buy it that night, you don't get it, right? Great marketing. It all has to be part of the show, right? Rock and roll. Turn it up to 11. Good stuff. Oh, Faster Pussycat opened up. Do you remember Faster Pussycat? I used to play their first album a lot. It was just really bad glam hair metal. And boy, they weren't one of the big bands. But it was cool that night. Ace Frehley was also supposed to show up that night, and he never made it. So, the itch you can't scratch. Good stuff. Now, I didn't see Alice Cooper again until the year 2000, right? October 6th, at the State Theater. No cameras, but I took these pictures anyway. Again with the top hat, his whole career. Britney also wants him. The guillotine, or the guillotine, however you want to pronounce it is fine with me. Right? Good stuff. Good entertainment. A couple bears I bought. Always have to have souvenirs, right? The one on the left is from Brutal Planet. I bought it that night. The one on the right is from Dragontown, which I saw again in 2002. Right? I won't show you all the pictures, but again, I saw Alice Cooper in 2004. And this was The Eyes of Alice Cooper. Bad album, as I stated in the part 1 of this 3-part series. And again, check this out. I saw Alice Cooper again in 2010. Right? Just wanted to go see the old guy one more time. He was touring with Rob Zombie on what they called the Theater of Death tour. Right? I can't find the ticket stub, but I had this tour book. They keep killing him, and he keeps coming back. One eye symbolism. Right? Like I said, Rob Zombie, he toured with Alice, and they did like a co-headlining tour. And this particular evening, it was funny because Alice played first, thankfully, because I was never much of a Rob Zombie fan. I didn't like White Zombie, didn't like his voice. Even though I liked heavy metal, there were still things that I didn't like about heavy metal, and Rob Zombie was one of them. I never really dug Rob Zombie. So I left. As soon as Alice was done, I didn't stay for Rob Zombie, and a lot of people left that night. We talked about it at work the next day, but again, let's show you Rob Zombie, show you some signs and symbols, right? Again, the peace sign, and definitely make sure to watch part 1 and part 2 to understand all of these signs and all of these symbols and the deception of Alice Cooper being a Christian, pushing Christianity, right? His good buddy Rob Zombie here with his satanic shirt, right? The red and the black. Got the X on the forehead. Right? Good stuff. They're good friends. Oh, there's that middle finger. Check out the middle finger here. Right? The Saturn finger. And it's more than just flipping somebody off. You can read this at your leisure. Right? Oh, there he is again. Flipping up the old Saturn finger with his good friend there, Marilyn Manson. Again, check out part 2 of Alice Cooper Exposed. Marilyn Manson letting you know with the devil horns. Rob Zombie with the devil horns. Right? They're not going to miss a chance to tell you which side they're on. Right now, let's just get into some of the Masonic posing. The classic. Right? He's letting you know whenever he can let you know. John 5 there also with the X on his forehead. Right? Same symbolism. Same as Alice. Right? Same thing going on here. Pentagram over his head, upside down crosses on their faces. It's good stuff, Rob Zombie, right? It's exactly who a nice, wholesome Christian man should be touring with. Oh, well, there's that peace sign again. With his good friend, Ozzy Osbourne, right? Oh, wow. There's Ozzy doing the Osiris risen worship, right? That X across the chest. Whoop, whoop, ladies and gentlemen, beware. Look at that. The X, 2 Saturn fingers, Ozzy doesn't care. The MK Ultra wore this guy down. Right? They call it drugs, but if you research enough, you'll understand what they put them through before they do drugs. Right? And one more time, the X, right? The Illuminist Masonic meaning of the X is simply this. It is the sign of Osiris, the great Egyptian sun god. And that is the point to these 3 videos. Fallen angel worship. Right? This is what they do. Again, Rob Zombie, making sure. Right? And it's not just the X across the chest, like Alice. Right? Aleister Crowley, let's not forget him. Right? Now, this is where all this nonsense comes from. The music industry worships Aleister Crowley. That is well documented. Again, look that up. Don't forget the X also. The symbol of the X, look, right on his forehead. Right? Letting you know. One way or the other. There's John 5 again with the X. Right on his face. Good old Rob. Right on his forehead. Right? That's good stuff. Robert is his real name. Robert just so happens to be 33 in full reduction. Right? Speaking of the X, remember back in the day, White Zombie, before he went solo? Shauna Reynolds, right? Getting the old bass guitars going there with the X. Not only that, you've got the occult of Masonic duality with the black and the white. Right? Letting you know early on exactly what they worship. 666 on her bass. There's Rob with the big star on his shirt. The 666 right there on his knee. See that? Zombie 666. Oh, yeah. And, you know, the thing is, the reason why I'm pushing Rob Zombie here is because Alice Cooper is almost passing the torch to Rob Zombie, saying, oh, he gets it. He loves to talk about Rob Zombie. Right? Of course Rob Zombie gets it. He's worshiping the same fallen angel. That's all this is. Oh, then Sherry Moon Zombie, his wholesome wife, right? Licking the old V sign. Yeah. Look at this. Say you love Satan. She'll even sign it for you while she flips you off. Right? The pentagram 666. This is fantastic. Right? Christian men should be promoting this. Right? Rob Zombie 666 crew. You got the pentagram on the forehead there. Burn like an animal. That is great marketing. Right? You're going to wear that proud to the next Rob Zombie show, right? Oh, Sherry Moon with the 666. This is no wonder these two married each other, right? Good old Rob Zombie. making his own horns, right? Yeah, it's got to be a heck of a Saturday night over at the old zombie household. Right? You know, lick a few V's, worship Satan until about 3 a.m., right? Pass out. Hope you respect me in the morning, honey. Right? Oh, yeah. That would be the first person that I would choose to tour with. But hey, you know, Rob gets it. Right? Alice is a good judge of character. He'll tell you so. Now you got to look up the humiliation ritual sometime. They love to dress men in drag in Hollywood. It's all too common in the music industry. It's easy in the music industry. Once you figure it out and you realize why these guys dress up like chicks. I mean, sadly, I'm sure Alice Cooper had to go through some horrible things in his career to get to where he is, right? In this day and age, especially at 73. And that brings us full circle with why I started this in the first place, right? The Detroit Stories, released in February of 2021 by a 73-year-old man whose last #1 album, right, was with the Alice Cooper Band back in 1973. They're Billion Dollar Babies. Now, this Detroit Stories thing, I listened to this album on YouTube. All the songs are there. There isn't anything new on this album. There isn't any new sound. There isn't anything that sounds any different, right, from anything else that Alice has ever recorded, right? So what makes this album debut at #1? Well, this is why. All the signs, all the symbolism, it has always been there, right? Alice has reached the pinnacle. He signed his name on the dotted line a long time ago. I'm absolutely convinced the only reason this album reached #1 is because he signed his name on the dotted line, just like he wanted the Muppets to do all those years ago, right? It's the same thing, but it is passed off as harmless entertainment, right? All the symbolism is there. Right on the back of the new album, one-eye symbolism. Nothing new under the sun here, folks. Right, and speaking of the Muppets, right? Remember how I showed you Alice was 33, Vincent is 33, Fournier is 33 in septenary, right? You know, let's look at this photograph from back in the day, right? Miss Piggy, right? Everybody loved Piggy. Piggy, just like everything else I showed you, is 33 in Jewish reduction. Muppets are puppets. Puppets, 33. It's been there the whole time, ladies and gentlemen. His entire career. Nothing but manipulation. Oh, and speaking of 33, when I found these pictures here, you notice the pentagrams in the background. Right? He's holding a mask. It's a white rabbit. In this, he's holding a white rabbit. White rabbit, again, just happens to be 33 in the Chaldean cipher. Again, his entire career. And I think one of the main things I have to mention as I start to close out this series is the disappointment. There's a reason why I'm calling this one The Fan. Right? I was one of those people who would stick up for Alice Cooper because he passed himself off as a Christian. But once you start to see all of these things, you realize you were wrong the whole time. All I was doing was defending a person who worships fallen angels and passed it off as Christianity so I could have a clean conscience. Right? So I could listen to this bloody nonsense, thinking it was cool all those years. Right? Even in my 40s, wanting to go back and see the guy. That's the programming of this world. That's what it does to you. And sometimes it's hard to let go of, right? Because it's your past. Who doesn't have a soundtrack to their life, right? Everybody has a soundtrack to their life. All of the songs you heard that spark a certain memory, right? The influencers, they do their job, right? They do their job well. They keep you hooked, right? Drinking beer is easy. Trashing your hotel room is easy. But being a Christian, that's a tough call. That's rebellion, says Alice Cooper. And when you believe in God, You've got to believe in the all-powerful God. He's not just God. He's the all-powerful God that has total control over everyone's life. The devil, on the other hand, is a real character that's just trying his hardest to tear your life apart. I was one thing at a time, and now I'm something new. I'm a new creature now. Don't judge Alice by what he used to be. Praise God for what I am now. But I would rather end with this. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, you can identify people by their actions. Alice Cooper, ladies and gentlemen. The embodiment of a true, living nightmare.